You guys, thank you for joining us. The Jersey girl in me is Michelle. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, all right. First of all, Bruce Springsteen did a show in Manchester, England on
Yep.
Wednesday. And I'm going to read to you what he said because it's
Mhm.
relevant to this discussion. So
Yep, I'm gonna
on
hit do
Wednesday,
not disturb on my
yep,
phone.
yep.
Yep,
On
sorry.
Wednesday, Springsteen did a show and he did it. Are you a Springsteen fan? Like, are you familiar with the.
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
had, I had the cassette thing when I was a kid. The USA for Africa track, yes. Yes, yes, yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
So right before Bruce Springsteen sang the song "My City in Ruins," which let me pause for a second and say that is off the Rising album, and the Rising album is generally an album about 9/11, and it came out right after 9/11. I think I went to like I cannot tell you the number of shows that I went to on the Rising tour
Mm,
from Boston, where I ran into Chris Christie, who's a massive Springsteen fan. I went to like I don't know how many shows he did at in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, but I went to all of them. Like I went to shows at Madison Square Garden. I lived that Rising tour. I
lucky
lived it.
you.
It
I
was
have one Bruce Springsteen story, but
okay.
not that
And
many.
I've
Yeah.
met him. Like I have so many great Springsteen stories. But anyway, so um, off on the Rising album is a song called My City in Ruins, which a lot of people think is about New York rising up after 9/11. It's actually not. It was written about Asbury Park, New Jersey,
Mm,
before 9/11, but he put it on the album because it sounds kind of like it's about New York.
yeah,
And
applicable.
yeah, actually, Tara Setmayer is going to join us for this, which is fantastic.
Oh,
Let me see if I can get her on. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to try. So, uh, so he did My City in Ruins right before the song came on. He he said this. There's some very weird, strange, and dangerous shit going on out there right now. In
mhm,
America, they are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. This is
mhm,
happening now. In America, the richest men are taking satisfaction in abandoning the world's poorest children to sickness and death. That is happening now. In my
mhm,
country, they are taking sadistic pleasure in the pain they inflict on loyal American workers. They're rolling back historic civil rights legislation that has led to a more just and plural society. They are abandoning our great allies and siding with dictators against those struggling for their freedom. They are defunding American universities that won't bow down to their ideological demands.
mhm.
They are removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons. This is all happening now. A majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government. They have no concern or idea for what it means to be deeply American. The America I've sung to you about for 50 years is real, and regardless of its faults, is a great country with great people. So we'll survive this moment. Now I have hope because I believe in the truth of what the great American writer James Baldwin said. He said, "In this world, there isn't as much humanity as one would like, but there's enough. Let's pray."
Mhm.
So
Can I
that,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
there
want to be. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so he played 3 songs together in
Yeah.
this little bit, and I think that the beginning of it is also, at least to me, it's what drew me in. So when he posted on Instagram, I saw it right away, and, because I talk about this a lot on our show about artists and art, and the responsibility I think that we have in this moment, to be standing up. And he says right here, hold on, he calls upon the power of art, of music, of rock and roll in dangerous times, which, he came of age during Vietnam,
Yeah.
so. And he talks about the America that I love, and the America that I've written about for 50 years, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, currently is in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration. So in between those 3 songs, he did, and what you
Yeah.
read was the last part, and just,
Yep.
so good.
Yeah. And so listen, if you are a fan of Springsteen, as I am, and I hope people are, and if you are, drop us a line in the chat. But if you are a fan of Springsteen, you know this is not atypical for him.
Yeah.
He has been socially conscious for decades, regardless of
Mhm.
who's in the White House. He has spoken out. 21 Shots is a song from probably close to now 30 years ago,
Mhm.
about a shooting of a black man in New York by the
Yep.
police department. He did a song, Streets of Philadelphia, about the AIDS crisis.
Mhm.
He Born in the USA is a
Yeah.
rebuke. I mean, as much
I know everybody
as much
thinks it's like this, like,
as much as politicians want to write a song, use it as some sort of jingoistic tune, the reality
yeah,
is
I'm like, wow, you guys have never read the lyrics, have you? And
yeah,
never listened.
it's a huge rebuke to how we took care of our veterans coming back from Vietnam.
Right.
Born to Run, funny story. The New Jersey legislature was about to make it the New Jersey state song back in the early 90s until they remembered that the lyrics were basically about New Jersey being a death trap and a suicide rap, and we got to get out while we're young. So, I mean, this is not a guy who's ever pulled his punches, right? And
Yeah.
and that's happened under Republican presidents. It's happened under Democratic presidents. He has campaigned for Democratic
Yep.
candidates, but nevertheless, he hasn't been.
He did an ad for Kamala Harris
Yeah,
in a diner. Yeah.
but he's not shy about criticizing politicians on both sides of the aisle.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you know, that's okay. That is the job of an artist to call
Yes.
out and to use his art, in this case music,
Yeah.
to reflect society and implore for a better world. I mean, that has happened throughout
Yeah. Art is political
art,
inherently.
inherently political. Um, so first, of course, Fox News goes ballistic, and Greg Gutfeld, my old co-host on the Five, and Fox's resident clown,
He's so
yeah, called Springsteen a pussy, among other things, for doing this in England, and he wasn't man enough to do this in the United States.
it was the opening of his
It was the
tour.
opening of his tour. I mean, I'm sure he'll get to it when he gets to the Meadowlands, Greg, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll go and you'll listen. But also I hate the word pussy because quite honestly, it's demeaning to women, and I can't stand when
Yeah, it's
people use
also
it.
like, I mean, in the definition of the word, it's actually like not weak. It's right, pushes human
Yeah.
beings out. But anyways,
Exactly.
keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's fine. I mean, Greg Gutfeld, that's his job.
He's such like he's just a clown.
He
Like
just, you
he's
know what? He's been fired from every job he ever had before he got to Fox by his own admission. So he needs to do what he needs to do to keep that
yeah.
sweet, sweet paycheck coming. And it is a sweet paycheck. Um, so that's okay. I mean, Greg wants to criticize him. That's Greg's prerogative. But then
Right.
Donald Trump got in on the action. And this is what
Mhm.
Trump just put out on Truth Social this
Mhm.
morning. I'm going to read the whole thing, but I want you to listen for the very end of it because that's where it gets dangerous. This is what Trump said. I see that highly overrated, and by the way, the grammatical errors here are insane insofar as there's capitalization issues that drive the grammar Nazi in me
Mhm.
crazy. But anyway, I see that highly overrated Bruce Springsteen goes to a foreign country to speak badly about the president of the United States. Never liked him, never liked his music or his radical left politics, and importantly, he's not a talented guy. Just a pushy, obnoxious jerk, all caps, who fervently supported crooked Joe Biden, a mentally incompetent fool, and our worst ever president who came close to destroying our country. If I wasn't elected, it would have been gone by now. Sleepy Joe didn't have a clue as to what he was doing, but Springsteen is dumb as a rock, that's in quotations, not sure who's quoting, and couldn't see what was going on, or could he, which is even worse. This dried out prune of a rock star, parentheses, his skin is all atrophied, ought to, and this is all in caps, this is what I want you to listen for, ought to keep his mouth shut until he gets back into the country. That's just standard fare. Then we'll
Mhm.
all see how it goes for him. Now, I am sure that Trump's defenders are going to say that he's going to see how it goes for him because he's going to get booed at his concerts by Americans who love Trump, right? That's what they're going to say.
Yep.
That's bullshit, and don't buy it.
No.
Because this is a threat from the
Yes.
most powerful man on earth who has weaponized border agents where you have
Mhm.
no rights when you actually are in customs. I'm sure Springsteen flies private, but I don't know when you fly private. I've never done it. When you go internationally, whether you still have to go through customs. But the reality is you have no rights when you're at border control before you cross over into the United States. That's actually the most vulnerable you ever are. That's where they can seize you and
Mhm.
take you. He has control over the border agents who do that. He has controls over the IRS. He has control over the FBI. He has control to some extent over cities and states where Springsteen venues are,
Yeah.
um, and where his concert venues are.
Mhm.
And all of this is because Bruce Springsteen exercised his First Amendment right
Mhm.
um, to do this. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's just
It's
and I will
it
just say this, Michelle. If they
yeah.
can, we can talk more about Springsteen and Tara. I think is on our way. But if we can talk about if they can do this to Bruce Springsteen,
Mhm.
who has a lot of money because he sold his catalog. There's Tara Setmayers, my fellow Jersey girl. Tara, I have some Jersey in the house with me. I love the Jersey girls.
Yes, 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 yes. Wait, what's happening?
I don't know. We can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
It's weird. I hear us twice. Wait, hold on. Hold on. There we go. All right.
Okay.
All right,
There we
Tara,
go.
we just were getting through discussing what Springsteen said at the Manchester concert and then discussing what was said by Donald Trump, where he threatened Bruce after that. So tell us, what do you, as a Jersey, how many Springsteen concerts have you gone to?
Oh no, her
I know,
internet
Tara's
connection is unstable. I
unstable. All
don't
right, I'm
know
gonna get
that
back to you.
she's been to any because she's a
What?
Yeah, she's a Bon Jovi person. But um
I have so many Bon Jovi stories. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I
like
mean,
real stories about Bon Jovi. No,
oh,
no.
I used to study with his voice teacher. That's all I know about really about Bon Jovi. But yeah, I mean, here's my thing about this. So the first thing I saw this morning when I was scrolling, I think you sent it. You or Jojo sent it in our chat. Um, George Conway had posted something that he wrote about Taylor Swift. So Donald Trump wrote something about Taylor Swift this morning. It says, "Has anyone noticed that since I said all caps, I hate Taylor Swift, she's no longer hot?" So he wrote that 2 hours ago, and then he was like crying about the Supreme Court, and then he wrote this thing about Bruce Springsteen, which obviously is bothering him. Um, it's also like, let's be real, Bruce Springsteen is 75 years old, and he's like a hot 75-year-old man. Like, I'm not into 75-year-old men because that would be weird. My parents are 75, but like Bruce Springsteen is like a hot older man, and he's also like incredibly talented. He's very energetic. He's everything that Donald Trump isn't. Okay? He's also from the tri-state area. He's beloved. He's
He's
cool.
authentic. He's authentic.
He's
He's
authentic.
authentic.
And we were talking about this last night on our show, The Stakes, that Bruce Springsteen, whether you like him, you don't, whatever, if you're Bon Jovi, you cannot deny, none of us can deny that Bruce Springsteen is one of the greatest storytellers of our time. I
Yep.
say that as someone, I was at the invited dress rehearsal for his Broadway show.
Nice.
Like 100 people in the audience. It was one of the most amazing nights of my entire life. Listening to that man tell stories, and that the country that he talks about, what Julie read, he's like, the country that I've been talking about and singing about for 50 years is real. That is the same America that Joe Biden is from, that I'm from, that you guys are from. Like, that's why everybody loves Bruce Springsteen, because he speaks to the America that we know, from blue collar America. And again, like, that's the America. Donald Trump can't even talk about groceries normally. He doesn't know what they are. Um, so while he's around, going around the Middle East and coming back, I don't know, maybe he's on a plane right now. Who knows? Who cares? But I think that the end threat here, to your point, Julie, it's that last line or two, his threat to Bruce Springsteen and his safety once he lands, and it says, like, then we'll see how this goes for him. Also, what's happening in the last 24 hours is that James Comey was walking on the beach, and I don't know if he made the little thing himself or if it was already there. Somebody with seashells wrote 8647. Now, 86 is a term, if you don't know, we use in restaurants, saying like, okay, if we're out of beef. Okay, 86 beef. We don't have it anymore. It just means you get rid of the person. And usually, there were t-shirts when Donald Trump was president before that said 8645. I have one. My father-in-law bought it for me. Um, so the right, just like this, has lost their minds. Kash Patel has come out saying that they're going to open an investigation, that there's going to be Secret Service. And then Tulsi Gabbard went on TV last night talking to Jesse Waters saying that he should be behind bars. And I think that all of this, like, Donald Trump is not a funny person, not really, not seriously. None of this is a joke. He's serious. We should believe him always. And there is a very, very good opportunity here for them. I mean, I'm sure that they're thinking that they're going to make examples of these people, James Comey and Bruce Springsteen. And they are, and they can, and they very well will.
So Tara, you are a Bon Jovi fan, which is a huge demerit in our friendship. though I have been known to sing along to Bon Jovi in the car, I'm still going to tell you that Springsteen is, of course, Bruce Springsteen, and Bon Jovi is, you know, an 80s rocker. But
Look, the struggle is real again for those or who are Jersey folks. It's the same argument about North, South, and Central Jersey, about pork roll versus Taylor ham, whether you're a Giants fan or an Eagles fan, and are you Team Bon Jovi or Team Springsteen?
I mean, nobody.
It's a
no,
thing.
no.
It's a
There's
thing.
there's a little teeny group that's Team Bon Jovi, but everybody else is really Team Springsteen. We don't even get into that. I mean,
But I will look. I
compare
will
the words
explain.
of My City of Ruin to, oh, I don't know, I'll be there for you. These 5 words, I swear to you.
Bed of roses.
Bed of roses, yeah, Bed of roses.
So let me explain myself though. I just because I'm Team Bon Jovi as a kid growing up in Jersey, down the shore, 80s rocker chick, I've always been that. I have respect for Bruce Springsteen's songwriting and his band from a
Yeah. Oh
music
God. Yeah.
perspective. I'm a person who appreciates vocals and I like vocalists. And Bruce Springsteen can't really sing. His voice bothers me. And so that's why I was never a fan of Bruce Springsteen, just listening to him. But his songwriting and his band are kick ass, and I take nothing away from him.
Yeah.
And
E Street
obviously,
Band is like unmatched. Like
they're
forget it.
fantastic, fantastic. So I'm not gonna say that I'm like I don't like Bruce Springsteen. Like I appreciate his music. And Jersey Girl, come on, it's like a great song. He talks about going down the shore.
It's not
Like
his song though.
everything is
That's a Tom Waits song. He just covered it.
well,
Yeah,
yes, but
but he covered it
for
better.
him, he made it better.
Yeah.
Just like for Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, even though it's a Dolly Parton song, it's the Whitney song. You know,
Yeah.
she
I will
covered it
just
and
say
made it
that
better.
while Bruce Springsteen is not, traditionally a very good vocalist, he's
Right.
the storyteller with his voice
Yes.
in a
Yes.
different way, in a Tom
Right.
Waitsy almost kind of way.
Right.
But I have actually, as a vocalist, have sang more Bruce Springsteen songs than I have Bon Jovi.
Because of the songwriting, right? It's like so when I say it's kind of a running
I'm on
joke
Fire
about
is
it.
like one of my favorite
Yeah,
songs.
but
Oh,
nobody. Yeah, I mean,
wanted,
like
I wanted that to be my wedding song, even though I didn't really have that kind of wedding. But anyway, go ahead.
So
Then they
for
got-
me, as a younger kid, like I said, hanging around with Jersey Italians and how I grew up, Bon Jovi was the natural kind of thing, and I've sung Bon Jovi songs on every continent I've ever been on, including 2 cruise ships for karaoke. Living on a Prayer is my favorite song, and I may or may not have video of me in 2006 in the red light district in Amsterdam singing Bon Jovi at a club called Casablanca. It may or may not be out there. So anyway, so the kind of thing about me not being Team Bruce Springsteen is it's just
Well,
a funny thing.
I may or may not have a video of me singing Rosalita at a karaoke place in Koreatown in New York, and until everybody looked at me and said, "Are you fucking kidding me? The song is like 10 minutes long. Wrap it up."
Yeah, that's kind of like if you sing whatchamacallit by Guns N' Roses. Sweet Child of Mine. It's a great
Sweet Child of
song, but
Mine
you got like
goes
a
on.
10-minute guitar break.
Guys,
But anyway,
I was
back
a
to
karaoke
series.
host for three
Oh,
and a
yeah.
half years.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there were some songs that I took a Sharpie and I put them in the book and I was like, nah. No
Yeah.
Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Oh,
Anyway.
Yeah.
no, what a buzzkill! All right, this
So
tells me
anyway,
that-
but back to
this
more
tells me we need to
serious.
do karaoke.
Yeah, this
but
is
yeah.
serious. stuff,
more serious. I mean, I only have a couple minutes because I'm actually going to go on a serious podcast. I'll be on with Harry Littman on Talking Feds and with Peter Baker and some others talking more serious things. In a couple minutes, I have to jump. But this situation is so outrageous for all the reasons that you guys said. Donald Trump is escalating his authoritarian threats
Yes.
against free speech and against our right as Americans to speak our minds and say whatever the fuck we want to say. Sorry,
Mhm.
Julie's dad. But that is a fundamental right in this country. And he's coming after everyone. No one is safe here. No one is beyond
Nobody.
Donald Trump being threatened by Donald Trump and his thugs in our government. Even national treasures and icons like the boss. Like, I mean, what are you doing? He went after him. He insulted Taylor Swift.
Mhm.
He's threatening. So let's just like look at the escalation. You've got he's arresting mayors. They're arresting judges. They're
Yep.
threatening members of Congress. Now they're coming after national icons for something he said in another country.
Mhm.
What? Like the American people cannot be quiet about this because that's exactly what Bruce Springsteen's message was, which is why it bothered Donald Trump so much. I
Yeah.
guarantee you there are more people who love Bruce Springsteen than they do Donald Trump by multiples of 10. And if you start getting, that's why they're trying to crush the arts and trying to crush,
Yep.
the Kennedy Center and all
Academia.
academic, that's right, all of that, because they know if all of these factions of American society come together, then Donald Trump and their fascism cannot win. And they know this, which is why they're trying to use the power of the federal government and threatening, not even veiled threats anymore, with using the power of our law enforcement, of our military, of our courts. He threatened the Supreme Court this morning too. I mean, he's on a roll. He's on one today because all of these things together represent a threat to his fascism.
Yep.
And
So,
by the way, I don't know if he's flying back from his little Middle Eastern
probably he's probably
shyster trip.
bored.
So he's got some time on the plane, although I
Yes.
would think Air Force One has the capability of, I don't know, governing from Air Force One. So there's a lot of stuff he can do.
Yeah, I'm refreshing his Truth Social
Yeah.
right now just to see
But,
what's
Yes.
going on.
but, look, he's obviously tired. He's exhausted. And he just came back from a region of the world where you don't criticize the ruling clique,
Yep.
right? You don't criticize Mohammed bin Salman. If you do, you end up literally sawed to death
Yeah.
in Istanbul,
Right. That's right.
and with parts of your body being found all over the place with chainsaws, right? That's what
Mhm.
happens in places like Istanbul.
That's
Sorry,
right.
places like Saudi Arabia, if you criticize
Yeah.
um,
Don't be
Mohammed
a
bin
woman,
Salman.
and don't be a woman over
And
there
don't
and,
be a
and,
woman.
and
But I
say
mean, they,
anything.
they literally kill people who criticize them, which is what they did to a Washington Post reporter
Mhm.
who dared to criticize the Saudi ruling family.
Yep.
And of course, Donald Trump, who loves MBS, and told him, I mean, I've never seen him so effusive. I love you. You have no idea how much I love
Oh,
you.
it's so like
Are you
weird and
kidding me?
Gross.
Like, are you kidding me right now?
He
And
loves his money. He
he
loves
lo-
the fact that his money is
and the
endless and that he
and
paid off Jared Kushner and his
and
2
and the
billion
boys
there,
and
and the
and
fact that he's a dictator.
yeah, and the boys. I mean, the Trump administration organization is making a ton of money. Is that cat butt? Hey, Rafi.
Yes.
And
Rafi has made the chat.
so the point is, he's now coming back to a country where he doesn't have that kind of power, and he
Yep.
wants it.
Mhm.
And all of a
Yes.
sudden, he's looking around and saying, "Holy shit! Mohammed bin Salman has complete and utter control over what is said in his country.
Yep.
The head ruling family of Abu Dhabi has complete control. The ruling family of Qatar has complete control.
Right. That's right.
Why don't I?"
That's right.
And I need to do that. I need to have complete control over what is said about me. And if I'm being criticized, I need to do to these people what would be done to them if they were in Saudi Arabia, a place that
Mhm.
I want to emulate.
Well,
It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that his first foreign trip was not to Britain or to France or to Japan or to any of our traditional allies. It
Right.
was to the people who are probably, as we speak, pouring money into a secret
Mhm.
crypto fund that is run by Steve Witkoff's son.
Not so
We're buying
secret,
you.
Julie. It's not so
Well,
secret,
but right,
right?
because we saw
I
that
mean,
Abu Dhabi did it.
that's right. They went to that conference. We have a
Yep.
colleague of ours who was on good authority, had people telling him they were at this conference about how they were running around. The
Oh.
Trump kids were running around making these deals and promises, and they were they were the stars of the show here because they know that they can be bought. I've written about this on my Substack.
Yep.
You have, Julie.
Yep.
People are starting to pay attention, but this whole thing is all about enriching Donald Trump and his
Yeah.
businesses. Like this, there are stories now about how Trump was in financial ruin until he ran for president again.
Yep.
And this is all that's why he's in that region. Those governments have more money than God because they have sovereign wealth funds and no oversight. And that's what Trump wants to start here. It's a fucking kleptocracy.
Right.
And it's insane.
And
And
he's
the
talked
difference,
about the sovereign wealth fund,
yes,
like
he
selling
has.
off our national parks.
It's craziness. So I'm going to leave you with this because I have to go jump and go do the podcast. But the difference between those folks and here is that we still do have a constitution. And we damn well better make sure that our elected officials and everyone who's in a position to defend that constitution at all costs unequivocally does that. Because it needs to be a fight. Donald Trump wants to get rid of our constitutional rights. Well, he's going to have to come through a lot of us first to do it. So, on that note, this Jersey girl's out. I will see you guys later, and I have to disturb this adorable kitty now because I have to get up. He's such a snuggle bug. All right, love you
Bye,
guys. I'll see
Tara.
you later.
Tara.
Bye, Rafi. So here's the deal. I'm gonna get rid of Tara. Oh, there she is. She's gone. Okay. So look, I as much as I can talk about Springsteen stories all day long, and I'm going to in a minute if people want, but what I want people to take away from this is exactly what Tara said.
Mhm.
If they can come after Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
who is worth a fortune
Mhm.
and is an icon and has a platform and has the ability to fight back, they can come after people who are on Substack or
Yeah.
people who are listening to Substack lives or anybody. I mean, literally anybody. If you cross the border and you're in that little, imagine you go abroad, which I'm
Mhm.
going to this summer, and you come back, which I hopefully intend to,
Yeah.
and you're in that little perilous moment from when you deboard the plane to when you walk through customs, you have no rights. You're not on American soil yet. But Customs and Border Enforcement has the right to do whatever they want to you. They can
Mhm.
detain you. You don't need a lawyer, so on and so forth. Um, I don't know what they plan to do to Bruce Springsteen. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, of course it matters, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this discussion because the very threat is enough to chill speech.
Mhm.
There are going to be people much less powerful than Bruce Springsteen who are going to look at that threat and say, you know what? I better just keep my mouth shut.
Mhm.
And
People will, and that's the problem. That's the problem. And we need more people like Bruce Springsteen. People with that kind of clout, that kind of, iconic, beloved brand, if you will, to be speaking up and getting louder. Because, I wrote on my Instagram today when I posted the screenshot of what he wrote on Truth Social that like this is not the time to be quiet. This is the time to get louder. This is the
yeah,
time because we are American citizens, and as long as we all are, and as long as the Constitution still can hold, this is our moment to get louder and to get, more aggressive in the way that we're fighting back, not violently. I'm saying more aggressively, and I say that also to our elected officials who have been the most um cowardly out of everybody, just kind of sitting around, sitting on their hands, doing a whole lot of nothing because they're like, well, I don't have the power. What cat got your tongue? You can't talk, you can't speak. When you've
well,
got people like Bruce Springsteen who are up, risking everything.
where's Taylor Swift?
Oh, girl, don't even get me started. I know. Yeah,
I mean,
because her boyfriend, right before the Super Bowl, said that it was an honor to be playing for the president.
okay, that's her boyfriend, but where's Taylor Swift? Because
Yeah, I know.
Donald Trump went after Taylor Swift today.
Yes.
Now, if Donald Trump went after me today and I had Taylor Swift's platform, even if I didn't have Taylor Swift's platform, I would
Mm-hmm.
go after Donald Trump right back.
Yep. Yep.
Um, just to send a message, right? And to show all of the people who worship me, which a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people do with Taylor Swift, that I'm not going to be afraid, that my voice is powerful
Yep.
because her voice is probably the most powerful voice in the world right now.
Yeah. And Rhonda's asking today why. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about Bruce Springsteen, but Donald Trump also, in the same breath, but a couple posts down, attacked Taylor Swift, saying that,
You know why,
you know,
Rhonda? Because Fox News probably ran a segment on it.
yeah,
And
like whatever,
he's
for
responding to
whatever
that.
reason.
I mean, it's not because it was just brought to his attention, probably on some news channel that
She's
he was
just another
watching.
woman who, like, won't sleep with him or something. Like, it's
Yeah.
always, it's just some stupid, you know.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's 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 pretty amazing to me how quickly Hollywood has shut up. And by
Oh, God,
Hollywood, I mean
I know.
the entire entertainment industry, right?
Mhm.
Disney bent the knee immediately by giving that $15 million settlement
Yep.
to Trump for nothing. Paramount is about to with 60 Minutes.
Mhm.
All of these people run global studios. They have tremendous influence
Mhm.
on artists. Um, I don't know what Springsteen's music label says to him. I don't know what Taylor Swift's music
I
label
don't,
is saying
right.
to her. I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters either. And I think that, I talk to my parents about this all the time. Both my parents turned 75 this week. They graduated high school
Oh,
in 19.
happy birthday, Kinnies.
Oh yeah, my mom's birthday was last night. My dad's
Oh,
was on Sunday. I know it's always like a big week. And my grandfather's birthday was this week, but he's passed away. But anyways, this week for some reason everyone was born. Um, but they graduated high school in 1968, meaning, they graduated high school and became adults into a very tumultuous world. My dad got a draft card to go to Vietnam. He ended up in the reserves, like thank God. Um, Both my parents lost friends there. Um, it was a really difficult time. And if there was any sort of catharsis or community, it was around music. And like the music of the 1960s, there's a reason we're all still listening to it.
yeah.
Is because it tells such an incredible story, not just of the time, but like of standing up to, speaking truth to power.
Well, you're
Um,
right. Where's our Neil Young, right?
Yes, and I've been feeling that way for a long
Yeah.
time. I mean, Pink did a great job during the Bush administration. She wrote a song, and the Dixie Chicks too, and but it's just like there just hasn't been enough of it. Eminem, was got loud for like a second, but it needs to be everybody all the time, all at once. And people need to not back down because I'm like, listen, guys, if you want to continue having this career that has made you really rich in this country, you are going to have to speak up and you're going to have to sacrifice something now because you're not going to be able to continue doing it in the same way and making the same music as you've been able to. Um, if Donald Trump has anything to say about it.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is you're talking about Bruce Springsteen, who is of your parents' generation. He
Yeah.
came up and his music has, as we talked about earlier, for people who are just joining us, his music is largely protest music. I
Mhm.
mean, whether it's Born to Run or Born in the USA or the Rising album,
Yep.
um, all of that is protest music.
Mhm.
And what you're not hearing from Taylor Swift, I don't know her. I'm not a big fan of hers, but I've been having a 12-year-old in the house. I've had to listen to her.
I like
Uh,
Taylor Swift. I mean, she does write
yeah,
stuff about women and like things like that, but
yeah, she
like
does. But I mean, we are living in a moment right now that is really perilous.
absolutely.
And you know, it's one thing to write about women, which I'm the last person who's ever going to criticize that or run a women's
Sure.
nonprofit. Um, or if you're Beyonce, you're going to write songs about racial justice, um and a lot of the hip hop guys do as well, the big
Yeah.
ones. But we're bigger than that now. this
It's
is about
everybody.
this is about more than that now, right? It's not about your if you're a woman, it's not about your women's issues. If you're an African American artist, it's not about those issues. Those are all important.
And what
It's,
happens to one of
but
us or one group of
but
us
but
happens to all of us
but
at the same.
something more fundamental
Mhm.
is happening right now. Something
Mhm.
that's going to prevent you from writing the music that you want to write. And take it from me, I keep saying this. I was born in the Soviet Union. The first thing the communists did is come for the artists. And not only did they come for the artists, they instituted something called socialist realism that said
Mhm.
that any art, whether it's paintings or literature or music, even classical music, had to comport to
Mhm.
socialist realism, which advanced communism and socialism effectively through art.
Yep.
And if you didn't abide by that, and that's a very nebulous, kind of weird um, uh, term, because what does that mean exactly, right?
Right.
Whatever Joseph Stalin wanted it to mean. So that if you
Yeah.
didn't abide by whatever he in his mind, who was of course not a music critic or a literature critic or
Yeah,
anything
they
else,
never are. They never know what the hell
yeah,
they're talking about.
whatever
Yeah.
he decided that you strayed from that in your music. And by the way, I'm talking about classical music. There was no vocals. It was literally just music. So
Yeah,
I don't know how you're advancing, what you're actually advancing
I
in
know.
that.
It's like I don't like strings in the fifth
Yeah,
bar or whatever.
he
Like,
would
who
kill
cares?
you. He would put you in the gulag and you would be murdered. You would be executed.
Hmm.
So, the problem with these 20 something year old artists is that 30-year-old artists, they don't understand what they're in for.
Yeah, no. Sorry, I'm just
And
plugging my phone in.
and you know, I would say to Taylor Swift what I would say to Jake Tapper,
Ugh.
which is unless you focus on stuff that's happening now and stop litigating shit that happened before, unless you are laser focused on the threat to our democracy, on the fascism, and yes, I'm not afraid to use the F word, on the fascism that is happening here right now,
Mhm.
you are not going to be around to write your music or to write your books or whatever else you're going to write by 2029 because there will be no country left for you to do that in.
That's right. That's the part here because I hear a lot of, well, she's not an activist, or that I'm not this, and someone, right, and like I'm not calling you out of disrespect. I just want to call this out because a little bit, just because I think it's important. Therese Gineco, she said, as a singer, I've always been told to entertain. People don't come to hear about my politics; they come to be. And I I was a professional singer for over a decade also. And I'm a very loud person who you know, I let people know exactly what it is that I'm thinking at all times. Um, but I understand that, to an extent, but like to Julie's point now, it's like we're in a time now that we don't have the luxury of that anymore. And like for me, I'm like, you want to throw me out because I said something that you don't like? Throw me out. I don't really care because I want to be able to preserve the freedom that we have to sing about whatever it is that we want to sing about, or play music about whatever it is that we want to, you know, and not have that controlled by an authoritarian government. It's just, it's that simple.
I mean, I kind of laugh because you have people like Katy Perry, who I can't stand, but you have people like Katy Perry who are going up in space for 30 seconds. Now they're an astronaut with Jeff Bezos's wife, who apparently all Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez now do. She's not his wife yet, his fiance. All they do is apparently read the free press, which is
Yeah. Which is
very
funny
cool.
because, like, you and I met, I don't know if you were there but not, but we met an actual astronaut at the Webbies on
Oh
one
yeah,
day, Kelly
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Girardi, who is an actual astronaut. And, we were talking to her mom about it, and we're like, all these astronauts. She's like, well, like, she was trying to be nice about it. I was like, your daughter's an actual astronaut.
Yeah.
She's,
So my point is, yeah. So the point is like, you know, sucking kind of up to Jeff Bezos, who I think has gone full on Trump.
hmm
Trumper bought the rights to Melania's
yeah,
book and so on,
yeah.
and or life story.
Who
Sorry,
was
not the
also
rights. I'm sorry.
and suspiciously, by the way, also very quiet with all of this Jamal Khashoggi stuff, with Donald Trump essentially meeting with his murderer.
Murderer.
And he was a journalist for the Washington Post, which Jeff Bezos now owns. He pretended to care about when and prayed over this thing with his fiance or widow, I can't remember, in 2020 to
Yes,
commemorate his
fiance.
death.
Yep.
But like now he's
It's fine.
just
It's all
another
good.
thing that we've forgotten about.
Yeah, and I wonder, did the Washington Post do an op-ed criticizing Trump for meeting with Jamal Khashoggi's?
From what I'm seeing, no, because the Daily
So
Beast did an article about this, about like the silence.
yeah, so So it's fine, Katy Perry. Like, go ahead and suck
Yeah,
up to all
whatever.
these people. But understand, I kissed a girl. You're not going to be able to write that pretty soon,
Mm-mm.
right? You're not going to be able to sing that, the song that
Mm-mm.
made you famous, because you don't do that kind of thing anymore.
Oh, I just want to
Uh,
read this really. Oh, I was being censored by my mother, who was a Republican, and worried that people wouldn't come to see me sing because I'm gay. I came out on stage, best moment of my life. That's a beautiful. Thank you
Cerise,
for
it's
sharing that.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
That's wonderful. And if you ever
That's what
sing
it's
in New,
about, man.
if you ever
Yeah.
sing in New York, we'll come watch you.
Yes, please. Bring it on.
But you know, Springsteen is doing the right thing, but again, I go back to the fact that Springsteen is of a different generation, and that generation is dying out.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure if I go see Neil Young perform, if he's still performing, he'll have something to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
But Neil Young is also old.
Yep.
And, I don't know if Dylan's touring anymore. I'm sure he might have something to say about this, but he's also old.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be like I'm going to go see the Who for their 27th farewell tour because I'm such an idiot. The first farewell tour of the Who's I ever went to, by the way, was in 1988.
Mm.
I was 15 years old. It was the old Veterans Stadium in Philly. I went with my friend Tina. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. But I was like, this is it. They said this is their farewell tour and I'll
Mm.
never see them again. Thousands of dollars later, I have gone
Right.
to I don't know how many
Yeah.
farewell tours. And this time they're back. They're touring again. I said to my husband, I'm like, should I go? And he's like, really? And I said, we got to go. This may be the last time. And he started laughing. He's like, really? Because I've heard you
Right,
say that
right, right.
five tours ago. But anyway, the
It's that
point is
friend who
like,
keeps saying they're
yeah,
leaving.
yeah. But like, I don't know if those guys, they're not particularly political, do something or will say something. But again, that's
Yeah.
my music, but that music's old. Like I'm a classic rock chick. I've always been a classic rock chick.
Yeah.
But those people are not going to be around much longer and they're not as influential now as they used to be.
I
And
know. I feel like
we're
I'm holding on for dear life for them. Do you know what I always feel like I'm still trying to carry the torch for the
I know their
generations
music.
who come before me, and
I
I'm
know.
just like, why can't we learn? And like, I think about like even just in comedy, right? A lot of the comedians and Mark Maron from WTF podcast, and he's a comedian writer, brilliant guy, has talked about how embarrassed he is and ashamed of his cohorts, that a lot of this right wing sort of messaging has come out of male comics lately in the last several years. And you think back to Lenny
Yeah.
Bruce. Lenny Bruce was getting kicked out of clubs. He was getting arrested for the things that he was saying that you and I
Yeah.
could just say any time of day, right? Um, and it eventually killed him. It really did. But you know, these are people who understood that these are people who were coming up, that I mean, that's even another generation before, kind of in between. And they were coming up in the West Village doing all kinds of stuff. Bob Dylan, like all these people were talking about what was going on in the world and risking a lot in order to do so. And I get so frustrated, Julie, like looking around me at all these art has become content
Oh yes.
and
And clicks.
clicks and likes and dollar signs, and that's a really dangerous place to be.
Yeah. And you have to be a hot girl in order to be successful.
Yeah, listen,
You
even
have,
in theater now, like thank
yeah.
God I got out when I did. I think I left in like 2013, 2014. Like casting directors now look and see how many Instagram followers you have.
Oh, I mean, listen,
Like it's
the
nuts.
reason that Kendall Jenner is the biggest model in the world is not
Mhm.
because Kendall Jenner is the most beautiful model in the world.
Yeah.
It is because she has the most Instagram followers
Mhm.
and she's got the Kardashian brand behind her.
Yep.
And that's, I'll give you a great example since we're talking about Bruce Springsteen. I'm going to tell you a Springsteen story.
Please.
This is every Jersey girl's got a Springsteen story. Here's mine. I've actually got many, but here's a good one. Back in the mid 90s, I was working on a congressional campaign at the Jersey Shore. So I
Mm,
lived down there and I lived down there for about 3 years. I lived in a town, if anybody's here from New Jersey, I lived in a town called Ocean Grove.
mm.
Um, and it's not far from a town called Red Bank, which was at the time, now Asbury Park has become kind of like the
Yeah. It's
the
like a
really like
it's
a
like a
really
thing.
cool like Asbury
Yeah.
Park's a really cool place to be. back then, that's why Springsteen wrote My City in Ruins.
Mm,
Asbury Park was a mess. I mean, literally, like there were buildings that looked like they were bombed out, like literally had been bombed out.
yeah.
um Dangerous and awful. And then, like everything else, the gay community moved in, and as soon as the gay community moves in, the real estate's gonna get
Yeah,
real
right.
good.
It's like nice now because they
Yeah,
take
and
care of
it's
things.
beyond,
It's just
nice. It is.
right.
You've got, I haven't been down there in a few years, but you've got like it is the coolest place in the
My
Jersey
friend
Shore.
owns a condo that overlooks like the
Yeah,
boardwalk thing right there. It's beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, but in the mid 90s it was a total dump.
Right, right.
And so you didn't go to Asbury Park for a nice meal. You went to a town called Red Bank, which is still a very nice town, but much more kind of affluent. It's not as artsy. It's just a kind of, now it's become kind of a very affluent white person town.
Hmm.
Um, and there was a restaurant, which I'm not sure if it's still there. If it is there, go, because it's really good, called the Bistro. And my mom was visiting me, and it was about, I would say, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we went for a very, very, very late lunch, and there was nobody in the restaurant. And my mom and I are sitting there, and all of a sudden, a family comes in,
Oh my
and the
God.
family is Bruce Springsteen, his wife Patty
Hmm.
Scalvar, and
Redhead.
I think two of their kids who were very small at the time, like young kids.
Yeah, yeah.
And they sit down a couple, a table over from us, and there's literally nobody else at this restaurant except my mother and me and Bruce Springsteen and his family. And as you can imagine, the waiters forget all about us, and they're like all over
Right.
Springsteen, who could not have been more, like, not at all um a tough guy. He was just a,
Yeah.
just he was like almost embarrassed by the attention. So I look at my mom, I go, "Oh my God, mom, that's Bruce Springsteen." My mom's like, "That is not Bruce Springsteen." And I said, "Yes, it is Bruce Springsteen, mom." And she goes, "What would Bruce Springsteen be doing here?" And I said, "What is Bruce Springsteen doing at the Jersey Shore?
Right. Like
Like,
this is
really?
his right.
Like, really? Like." So that was, my mom still has not lived that down, because every time I'm like, "What would
Did
Bruce
you go over
Springsteen?"
and say hello?
I didn't. I never do that with celebrities, but I
I
will
know
tell
I
you a
don't
John
either,
Bon
but
Jovi story. This is why one of these John Bon Jovi stories. This same restaurant, the Bistro, was a very hard place to get into. And At the time, and you could not make reservations. You had to just show up and wait online. So I showed up with a friend, and we waited online and waited online, and we are almost at the front of the line. And I'm listening for the hostess, and the hostess goes, "Oh, Bon Jovi just called over and said if he could come over here, so we're gonna have to like make people wait longer, so like Bon Jovi and his crew could get a table." And I was like, "God damn it, Springsteen would never do that." And Bon Jovi is
it's
abusing
actually that's true.
abusing it. And God, I used to work for Phil Murphy, and the governor of New Jersey, and he's very
Yeah.
close to Bon Jovi. And I have some crazy Bon Jovi stories from that, which I will tell another day, because this is dedicated to Bruce Springsteen, not John Bon Jovi. But Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, he's such a down to earth guy. I
Hmm.
used to see him at the Monmouth Mall all the time. He'd just be shopping like a normal
Yep.
person at the Monmouth
Did
Mall.
you know the story about him where he happened to be like sitting at these people, I think it was in Asbury Park, they were having their engagement photos taken
Yeah, and
and
he
he
got
just
in on
happened
it.
to and like he was like in all the photos with them. And like he told another really great story on Graham Norton. I don't know if people know who Graham Norton is. He's a
Yeah,
late night host in the
in England.
UK and
Yeah,
it's actually one of like the best late night shows ever.
it's actually
And
the best late night show ever. It's
it's
really
so
good.
good.
Yeah,
It's just honestly great.
yeah.
And he tells the story about how like this fan like brought him home. Like I don't know, he like met a
Yes,
fan
yes,
like out.
yes,
It's like
yes.
the
It's a
greatest
crazy,
story.
craziest story. Yes,
Yeah.
Springsteen was like eating, so he went to this guy.
Yeah, and he
It's
was
a
like, "Hey
great story.
mom, this is my new friend
And
Bruce
Bruce.
Springsteen."
Um,
But
and
like that's who he is, you know what I mean?
he's just a good guy. I have met him. I didn't say hello that time, but I have met
Mm,
him because I went to a few charity things in Asbury Park with him, and he's just a good guy.
yeah.
And he's a guy who I think tries very hard not to forget where he's from,
Hmm.
despite the fact that he has more money than all of us combined
Oh
will
yeah.
ever have.
Yep.
And that he's been Bruce Springsteen for a really long time. I mean, he's
Hmm.
been an icon for far longer than he was a struggling artist, and yet
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
he
he's
was
never.
down in the village playing with his band and everything too. I mean, like he's
Oh
playing
yeah,
in clubs like all everywhere. Like he knows, he gets it,
yeah. You
you
know who else
know?
is really cool? Who I ran into once, and I did say hi to him. I think I lived in the West Village back in my pre-child days, And I used to see little Steven all the time. I don't know if he lived around me or whatever, but little
Mm,
Steven was like the coolest. Like used to see him at the sandwich shop, Lenny's, that I used to go to, which is a chain, not that good. And I used to see little Steven all the time, like literally in line next to me at Lenny's. And I'd be like, hey, little, I don't always say little Steven. I wouldn't be like Steven. I'd be like, hey, little Steven. And he'd be like,
yeah.
hey, I was wearing his bandana.
I was
Just
gonna
to,
say, like, yeah, I have pictures of me with him on stage. I forgot about this. I
you and
performed
you
with
and
Steve
Bruce or little Steven?
no, Steven Van Sant,
Oh, yeah.
um, at, like, this Rockers on Broadway thing. I have, like, a bunch from, like, 2009 or 10 or something like
Yeah.
that. I was singing backup or something, and he was on stage with, a bunch of people. Anyways, yeah, really nice guy. He's very nice
Yeah.
too.
So anyway, we could go down memory lane about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
But it's
history
just like, but
band
like,
and
the
Bruce.
point is, like, these guys are just like around. They're around New York. They're around New Jersey. They're very accessible people because they're normal and they're real and they're authentic people.
Yeah. But more relevantly, look, not to belabor this point again, but I believe strongly that Trump is going to suspend habeas corpus, and it's
Hmm.
going to happen
Oh yeah, me
before the
too.
end of the year. The reason I believe that is because they're telling us they're going to do it.
Hmm.
And you should believe them because every time they have told us over the last 9 years they're going to do something, including Steve Bannon the day before January 6th, when he said that January
Yeah,
6th was going to happen the way it did,
will be wild.
will be wild. It's not going to go down the way you think, and all this other stuff that literally telegraphed that it was going to be the shit show that it turned into.
Hmm.
They are now saying explicitly two things. Stephen Miller is saying they're going to suspend habeas corpus if these
Hmm.
judges don't rule with them.
Yep.
And two, and the judges, so now they're basically threatening judges. And two, Steve Bannon said two things the other day that I think people should pay attention to. One is that yes, they're going to suspend habeas corpus if these judges don't fall in line. But two, that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States again in 2029. That he, on January 21st, 2029, Donald Trump will have been elected and will be president. What that means is that they don't care about the 22nd Amendment because they believe that the Second Amendment gives them expansive powers to do whatever they want. It does not. It
Yeah.
does not. But they believe that it does. And the not the not sorry, not the Second Amendment, Article 2, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
Um
like, yeah,
no, no,
yeah,
no. The Second Amendment also gives them powers and that they're all
yeah. I mean,
RIGT. But
right.
anyway, but yeah, but no, I'm talking about sorry, Article 2, not the Second
And they
Amendment.
might take away our Second Amendment right,
Yeah,
which is
right.
like something that is coming that I don't think
So
most
so
people know
you
about.
know, I think they are purposely driving people into poverty with these tariffs because it is
Mhm.
easier to control people when they're sick,
Yep.
which is what they're doing with Robert Kennedy, when they are poor, which is what they're doing with
Hmm.
these tariffs,
Yep.
and when they're
And
struggling.
Doge. I mean, here's the other
And
thing,
don't
and it's like
they, and they have
we
all of
could
our information. They have all of our
exactly like,
information.
and it's in the New York Times. The New York Times has reported on this that Doge and Elon Musk, all these people, there's a reason why they want all our data. It wasn't about fraud, waste, and abuse. It wasn't about any of that. It was about Elon Musk, clearing the path so that he could, do all his dumb stuff to make more money. And the other part of this was to create this massive database for all of us between our banking records, our, health records, like anything that anybody could gather about any of us. And there's a million points of data on all of us, right? And so that they can come in if you dissent, if you do something that they don't like, they can shut off your money, they can shut off your paycheck, they can shoot. I mean, look at the one guy from the NLRB. Is that the is
NLRB. Yeah.
yeah, the whistleblower, before he even filed a letter with the federal government to for the complaint. They were following him. They had a drone follow him while he was walking his dog, took pictures, put a very personal letter, which he is not even comfortable talking about, put it, folded up, put him in an envelope, and taped it to his door. A place that he had only been living for a couple weeks, and no one knew that he even lived there. So, it's like this is what they're doing and they're going to do, and it's happening to Bruce Springsteen's point
And
where
they're
he
going after
says
Comey. Yeah, and they're go like
it's happening now.
now.
It's
Like
happening now.
look at what they're doing with Comey, right? They're basically saying Tulsi Gabbard is saying that Jim Comey should be put in prison
Yep. They might
or
try. Like, I mean, this
and
is
they're gonna try. I'll tell you something. I'll go back to Raz Baraka, the mayor of
mhm,
Newark, who was arrested for nothing. They set him
right.
up, and he didn't trespass, but they arrested him
Mhm,
um, last Friday. He was in court yesterday. My husband, who is a federal criminal defense attorney, this is exactly the kind of stuff that he does, right?
yep, yep,
Um, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a status conference. They're going to dismiss the charges. They're going to drop the charges."
yep.
And I said, "I don't think so." He goes, "Come on, this is so stupid. Of course they're going to drop the charges." And I was like, "But this isn't about the law. This is
Yes.
about making an example of somebody." And of course, lo and behold, I'm watching footage of Alina Habba, who is the United States attorney who would never have typically shown up to something like this, walking into the federal courthouse in Newark. She's getting booed to no end by people standing outside. She is dressed like a movie star, the big black
Ugh, I
sunglasses.
can't.
She's walking in like this is the United States attorney. Are you kidding
Right.
me?
Who has said on the record that she'd rather be pretty than
Pretty
smart?
than the smart,
But
right?
anyways, yep.
So she walks in and they charged. I mean, they're gonna continue to prosecute this case.
Tom Homan said on Fox, and we played this on our show last night, The
Yes.
Stakes. Tom Homan said that he's been in contact with Alina Habba, that they want to arrest the members of Congress who put their hands on the federal officers.
So I want everybody to understand this because some people may not have read my Substack on this a couple of days ago, and I don't typically tell you to do something, but please go back and read it because it's important.
Hmm.
And it has a lot more information in it that I'm about to impart here, just because we don't have time for me to give you the rundown. But please go back and read it if you want to actually have more info on this. I was at Delaney Hall because Michelle. I was driving to Pennsylvania through Newark last Friday. It was a massive, I don't know if you remember this, Michelle, it was a massive rainstorm.
Oh yeah, it was like
Yeah,
really bad weather.
I should not have been looking at I had my 12-year-old in the car. I'm looking at my phone, which I shouldn't have been. So if my parents were watching this, I just glanced down. I wasn't really looking at it. Where I see a text from Michelle, and Michelle's like, "Holy shit, there's something happening at ICE detention facility in New York."
Yeah.
So I was like, "What's the detention facility?" And she told me what it was, and I go, "Okay, I actually am gonna go check out what's happening there." And I so you have to understand, Kendrick Lamar, who is, for people who don't know, a hip hop huge, probably the biggest. Well, if you watch the Super Bowl, you know who he is, but like the biggest hip hop star in the world right now,
Mm.
was playing in the Meadowlands that night.
Mm,
My son had
I didn't know that.
begging me for months to get him tickets to Kendrick Lamar. And I totally dropped the ball. And to be honest with you, I dropped the ball because I didn't want to sit through a Kendrick Lamar concert. Obviously, I need to go with him. So I kind of was like, yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. I never was on it. So my son's in a bad mood because we're driving past the Meadowlands before we get on Route 78 from New York. And he's seeing the exit for MetLife Stadium where Kendrick Lamar is playing that night. And he is so pissed off. He's like, I should be at Kendrick Lamar. And instead, I'm in this car with you. So then, as I'm like, wait, Michelle, what's happening at Delaney Hall? I literally go, "Rrr." I
Yeah.
turn the car around and I still go, we're going to this prison.
We're going to a prison detention center and you're
And he
gonna
goes,
like it.
and he's like, I was supposed to be at a Kendrick Lamar concert tonight, and instead you're taking me to a prison and we're gonna get arrested, and I don't know what's happening. And this poor kid. I was like, yes, I know. I'm sorry. I know you're supposed to be at a Kendrick Lamar concert, but instead we're gonna go to an ICE detention facility. And so we go to this ICE detention facility, and by the time we get there, because it's traffic, it's rush hour, it's raining, it took us about 25 minutes to get there. This particular mole was over. So all
Hmm.
that's left are a bunch of ICE guys who are big and masked, standing around, and outside the perimeter are just a bunch of reporters,
Yeah.
one of the camera guys was a old Fox News camera guy and knew me, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Oh, they took Mayor Baraka to another to 620 Frelinghuysen Avenue, which is another ICE facility, I guess, for processing." But I say all of this to say that I know the I know two of the three members
Mm.
of Congress who are there. One of them is new. I don't know her, but the one who kills me the most is Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is a teeny tiny 80-year-old cancer survivor. And I promise you, Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is, I'm pretty short, is my height, if not even smaller.
Probably my
And
height.
yeah, and weighs about what I weigh, which is not too much.
Yeah.
Was not getting into fisticuffs with the ice agents whom I saw, all of whom were really big and really
Mhm.
masked and really armed.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, and it's severely armed.
Yeah.
Like,
And so I promise you that neither she nor LaMonica McIver, who I don't know, but is another woman who represents the city of Newark, nor Rob Menendez, who is a nice guy from Hudson
Mhm.
County, were physically threatening any ICE agents. They
No.
were there to perform their constitutional, their legally, they are
And a
allowed to do.
scheduled visit. Like they
No, no,
knew
actually,
that
I'm
they
not
were
even sure if it
coming.
was scheduled, but the bottom line is there is a law that was passed several years ago that allows members of Congress to show up and do spot inspections of ICE
Mm.
detention facilities. So, because they know that if they give them a heads up, they're going to clean up their act.
Yep.
So they showed up, they went in. Raz Baraka was told he could accompany them and then said, no, you have to leave. When he left, they arrested him, saying that he trespassed. He was invited in and then told to get out. The whole thing was a complete and
Set up.
utter
Yeah.
fucking setup. And so, you know, I I say all this to say, A, that my poor son did not go to a Kendrick Lamar concert and went to a nice detention facility instead. But also, I say this to say that all of this was planned. They want to make an example of, and let me just stress again, three members of Congress of color: Bonnie Watson Coleman, African American; LaMonica McIver, African American; Rob Menendez, Latino, right?
Mhm.
Three members of Congress of color. They want to
Mhm.
make an example of them. That's one. Two, Politos, he said my son almost became a part of history. I think I appreciate that. I think the part of history he wanted to become of was singing along to Kendrick Lamar,
I know. Somewhere in the background of,
which
yeah.
P.S. he actually can't because every other word is the N word, and so he knows better than to
Oh
sing
God,
along to him.
yeah.
So I don't even know what he was going to be doing at that concert other than me being miserable there. Um, Douglas Scott, he's not mad. He now just reminds me every day that I owe him, and now I have to take him to like a Drake concert, which I think may even be worse.
Oh God, that's
Uh,
worse.
I don't even
Drake
know.
sucks. Anyways,
Yeah,
that's a whole
I
nother
don't know.
show.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was offering to take him to a Who concert, but apparently
I
it
know. Listen, my
doesn't have
first
that.
concert was the Beach Boys, so like I can't,
My
I don't
first
know.
concert was the Madonna Like a Virgin final show at Radio City Music Hall. How cool is that?
That's amazing.
Amazing. And there was a fifth grade or sixth grade, I forgot what year it was, class election for president like the next day, and I didn't even run. They just anointed me by acclamation because for that one day I was the coolest girl. It was like the height of,
That's
by the way,
awesome.
I've never been that cool since, but I was
I
like the height
love
of my
that.
awesomeness. And then they basically all but impeached me because I didn't do anything. So that was that was my one and only attempt to run for public office. I didn't even run. They just it was very
Yeah.
Trumpy. They
Yeah,
kind of
they
just
wrote you
appointed.
right. They wrote you in,
They didn't write
essentially.
me in. They just said you're it. Anyway, but ooh, Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's
I
pretty
know, that's
cool.
kind of
That's
badass.
really cool. That's pretty awesome. So all I'm gonna say is it's just like amazing how they're setting this up. It's
Hmm.
all planned, right?
Hmm.
They go after Harvard because it's the biggest and the most famous.
Yep.
And if they can take down Harvard, they can take down anybody in academia. They
Hmm.
go after members of Congress because if they can take these three down, they can shut up any other member of Congress who's going to oppose them on anything.
Hmm.
They go after Bruce Springsteen because he's the biggest rock star, one of the biggest rock stars in the world. And if they can shut down Bruce Springsteen, and that's why he went after Taylor Swift today, too, for good
Yeah.
measure. If he could shut both of them down, then he could shut down anybody
Yeah.
else, right? Because
And,
who's
and
bigger than Taylor Swift and Springsteen?
and I was thinking too, Julie, you're talking about you bring up a good point of him coming back from the Middle East, being around all the strong men and with all the power and everything. This started to go viral Wednesday night. That's when I think I saw it like 2 hours after Bruce Springsteen had posted it. And so he probably woke up whatever time it was, however many hours later, and saw it, and he probably
That's
was
exactly what it was.
embarrassed, and people probably, were talking about it, and he didn't like it. And then yesterday, it really, I mean, I posted it on the Seneca Project YouTube page. We have like, I don't know, 170,000 views on it or something. Like and it's just us. So multiply that by Cory Booker and everybody else, everyone has seen this at this point. Um, and somebody was asking in the comments, like, what can we do? What should we do? And sometimes that question paralyzes me, even because I think that the target keeps moving. Like, because I don't, I think that that answer to that is always different, depending on who I'm talking to, because I think everybody has their strengths. Everyone has their thing that they can do. Some people write letters, some people call, some people march. I think continuing to show up in the streets is very important, especially now because it's becoming obvious that our representatives are not going to do anything until we figuratively drag them there. They have to see people. They need to hear us. We need to continue to call them because those calls do matter.
Yep.
We have to continue to speak up. Like if you're thinking about, oh, I shouldn't post that, I don't like, or that I hate Donald Trump or something because I don't want, like, we can't be doing that. Like, we have to continue to use our First Amendment rights and speak
Yeah,
up about the
that's
things that are unjust and the things that are unconstitutional. We have to continue talking about it. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I was listening to the art the verbal stuff that was going on in SCOTUS, was it yesterday, a couple days ago, between Amy Coney Barrett and Donald Trump's top lawyer guy who was in there, and they're talking about essentially Donald Trump is no longer going to recognize any ruling of any lower court. And he's
yeah.
just saying it out loud. And so we have to continue to speak up and speak out because that's all we can do really, right? Until there's a time to vote. And I that's not guaranteed either. So
Well, the good news is Trump's big beautiful bill
yeah,
failed to get out of the House Budget Committee today.
I
Four
just saw
Republicans
that.
voted
Yeah.
against it. I just want people to know that um, there's going to continue to be setbacks for him, but I think
Mhm.
eventually they're going to come to a deal. They're going to pass a really shitty bill, and it's
Yep.
going to deprive millions of Americans of health care. It's going to raise taxes for everybody,
Mhm.
practically speaking, other than the middle class, sorry, not the middle class, other than the very richest among
Yeah,
us.
like the richest
Yeah,
people.
they did not close the carried interest loophole that they said that Trump kind of suggested they might. They did not raise taxes on, billionaires, which Trump suggested they might, because that's not the point. They're not going to do any of that. Um, they are effectively going to screw us. But when he
Mhm.
has little setbacks like this, what's going to happen is he's going to get on the phone and look. The holdouts were Andrew Clyde from Georgia, Chip Roy from Texas, Josh
Mhm.
Breachin from Oklahoma, Ralph Norman from South Carolina, Lloyd Smucker from Illinois also voted against it, but Smucker voted against it, so he could change his vote, so he could bring it up for a vote next week. He could do that as chairman, I think. So I say that because aside from Chip Roy, I think the rest of them will probably fall in line.
Yeah.
And you have members of Congress who are saying that they're not going to support anything that doesn't get rid of the salt exclusion. They want to bring the salt deduction back, the state and local
Mhm.
income taxes. You have people like
Listen, in
um,
New
you
York,
know,
it's like,
yeah, the New York
yeah.
like Lolata, Long Island, and you have Mike. Why am I blanking? From the Hudson Valley, but
Mhm.
Mike Lawler. But the reality is that they're all going to fall in line. They
Yeah,
are.
they always do. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
he
always
was
do.
again like more crazy shit on Truth Social this morning. Trump wrote, "We don't need all caps grandstanders in the Republican Party." All caps. Stop talking and get it done. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, and I'm sure there's again,
I mean,
like,
look, and the press is going to be like, "Oh, look at this. This is whatever." Like, it's going to happen because what's going to
yeah.
happen is at the very end, these brown shirts are going to start showing up to these
Mhm.
people's town hall meetings,
Yeah.
or they're going to start threatening their families. And
Mhm.
these members of Congress are going to say, "You know what? For the sake of my family, for my own personal safety, I'm going to fall in line."
Mhm.
If that were me, I would rather resign. If you want to, I understand the need to protect your family. I get it.
Mhm.
Douglas Scott You said thank you. I started listening to you when you were a regular on Fox News.
Mm.
I appreciate that, but I can tell you, as the token Democrat on Fox News, there were times when people would, you know, it was not particularly safe. Sometimes people would get a
Yeah.
little, cross the line a little bit. So I appreciate that. I get it. I get why it's scary for personal safety reasons. And these members of Congress have privately admitted that they're scared for their personal safety, for their family's safety. Then get out
Sure.
of Then get out of Congress.
Yeah.
You don't
That's
need to.
the
You don't need to serve.
You don't.
You don't need
You'll
to
there's
serve.
other things to do with your life. And again,
Yeah.
like that seat doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the American people, and the American people deserve to have someone in that seat who's going to represent them and fight for them. And if you can't, then get out of the way.
And I'll I'll go back to my your friend and yours, Michelle Chuck Schumer. And I say that in quotations, because yes, exactly, Chuck Schumer. Because Michelle does a great Chuck Schumer. Because Schumer, who's our senator here in New York, is now saying that he's going to hold up all of Trump's nominees to the Justice Department until Trump explains himself the Qatar plane. I'm sorry, until he explains himself the Qatar thing, because the Qatar thing, the plane, the palace in the sky. You know what? It's outrageous. It's illegal.
I,
It violates the emoluments clause. It is wrong. It
I
is. It
care
is
less
all.
about
It,
that
it
than I
is
do about
all the
all the other
things.
shit.
It is
Yeah.
all the things. How about you hold up his nominees until he starts supporting the Constitution? As
Yeah.
in, this Bruce Springsteen thing disturbs me more than the
Mhm.
Qatar plane,
Yes.
because this Bruce Springsteen thing is about the First Amendment.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the part that I think people misunderstand tremendously.
And our right to be able to cross our borders.
Yes. And our
All
right
of
to be able to speak out without worrying about being detained
it. Mm-hmm.
at the border if you leave the
Mm-hmm.
country. And the Qatar plane is yet another shiny object that Trump has thrown up,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's outraged about it. And the media is all over it because it's a great visual, right? It's a great
Yeah, because
visual.
it's
It's gaudy,
opulence.
it's
How dare
opulence,
you?
it's gaudy, it's Qatar, which is a
And
dictatorship. It's
and the
all the
MAGA, right? And the MAGA people, there's some like Ben Shapiro's of the world are
yeah.
mad about it, but they're not mad about the grift. They're mad that they're Arab. Like that's what it's about.
Oh, 100%,
You know
right?
what I mean?
Because they're harboring Hamas, and by the way, they're
Yeah.
right to be.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I'm going to tell you something. If I could trade that plane away for him not threatening our First Amendment rights,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a violation. Let me put it this way: it's a violation of the Constitution too, the plane. But this is a fundamental right, and if
Yes.
he is now effectively threatening Bruce Springsteen, who is a um, avatar for
National
but
treasure.
also an avatar for assault, right? As I keep
Yeah.
saying, if they can threaten Harvard, they can threaten the community college down the street.
Hmm.
And if they can threaten Bruce Springsteen, they can threaten all of you
Hmm.
and all of us. And I just want people to understand that. There are people here in the chat who are saying stuff that Donald Trump wouldn't like.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is soon to be illegal. It's not just Michelle and me talking. It's everything that you're saying in the chat. It's
Yeah.
everything that you're saying to each other.
In your
I will
DMs, on
your DMs.
Instagram, on Facebook, on your text
You
messages,
guys,
all of it.
my mother grew up under Joseph Stalin, and she will tell you that even in the privacy of their communal apartment,
Hmm.
they did not say anything negative about him. They didn't even look at each other and go like this negatively about him. And it's not because they were true believers, although they were raised to be. So I think to some extent they were indoctrinated. It was because they knew that if they did, it would be all over.
Mm.
And it happens very quickly. It happens very, very, very quickly. And I just want people to understand that. I mean, you said, Politos, who said millions of us are going to become Anne Franks. I don't know why recently, but Facebook has a weird algorithm. I have no idea why. Margot Frank, her sister, is
Mm,
keeps coming up in my feed, all this information about Margot Frank.
really?
I don't know why. I think because I had tickets to the Anne Frank house
Mm,
that they have here in New York, which I had to skip unfortunately. But I don't know how Facebook knows that, but they do. And so I've had all of this stuff come up about Margot Frank. So I, of course, go down the rabbit hole and start reading about Margot Frank. And it's exactly what I was just saying. I'm glad, Politos, that you brought this up. It's exactly what I was saying because it just keeps going and it happens so quickly. I mean, these were
mhm.
girls who were going to school. They left Germany because of what was happening. They go to Holland
Yeah.
because they're their mother, and they go to Dutch schools, and they are, it's a school where you had Christian Dutch kids along with Jewish kids, and it was kind of very progressive, and that's where
Mhm.
they went to school. I literally just know this because I keep getting all this information about Margot Frank, her sister, Anne Frank's sister. And one day they had to go into hiding, and one day they were betrayed, and one day they got off
Mhm.
a cattle car, and they were Auschwitz-Birkenau, and they were separated from their father, and that's the last he saw of them.
Yeah,
Going,
and
going,
her father survived, God
yeah,
bless. I mean, that
yeah,
poor man. And this, it's funny you say that because this quote keeps ending up on my feed. Like all the platforms, I'm seeing this everywhere. From her diary, obviously.
yeah,
Terrible things are happening outside. At any time of night and day, poor, helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. They're allowed to take only a knapsack and a little cash with them. And even then, they are robbed of these possessions on the way. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find that their parents have disappeared. Women returning from shopping to find their houses sealed, their families gone. The Christians in Holland are also living in fear because their sons are being sent to Germany. Everyone is scared. Every night, hundreds of planes pass over Holland on their way to German cities to sow their bombs on German soil. Every hour, hundreds or maybe even thousands of people are being killed in Russia and Africa. No one can keep out of the conflict. The entire world is at war. And even though the Allies are doing better, the end is nowhere in sight. What does that sound like?
yeah. I mean, look, the reason this all happened close to 100 years ago is because that generation had to
Mhm.
die
Yep.
in order for people to forget.
Yep. The last person to tell the story firsthand is no longer here.
Yeah. And they still exist. I mean, they're still out there, but they're
Very few. Yeah.
very few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Therese, you're saying, Therese or Therese, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Jenico, you said you had to fly to the UK recently and deleted all of my apps and comments on my phone, got pulled up by CPB, and let go because my phone was clean. I mean, really?
Jenna Friedman, stand up comedian. She traveled to Vancouver to do a show. Past US citizen, born here. Came back over the border. They took her phone. They said, "What are you doing? What were you doing in Canada?" She said, "I'm a stand up comedian." And they asked her, "Do you tell jokes about the president?" And she said, "Yes." And they like looked at her and they were like, "All right." And I'm sure they were like, whatever. But I mean, Jenna Friedman is like a white blonde little thing. You know what I mean? Like she's not a threat to anybody.
Yeah. I mean, listen, for those of us who have to leave the country to go somewhere, as I do soon, uh, it's it's actually harrowing.
Yeah, I'm listen, I my husband's going to Monte Carlo this summer to go play in the
Oh,
world. He's going to play in the World Backgammon
you should
Championship.
go. You should go, Michelle.
Well, I was invited to go. I mean, it's when his backgammon tournaments, I usually don't go because it's not fun
I
because
know,
I'm
but
there by
go to this.
myself.
Monte Carlo sucks, but go to the South of France.
I know, but my father-in-law, my in-laws are going, and they're gonna go meet him, and then they're gonna travel around or whatever. But they were like, "Are you gonna go?" And I said, I don't want to live my life in fear. That's not what this is about." I said, "But I'm nervous that by then things might be different, and I might not be able to get back home." And
Well,
my husband like looked at me like I had like five heads, and I was like, I'm not kidding." How doesn't he get bored? That's funny. Oh, that's funny. He does not
Well,
get bored. He
yeah,
is obsessed.
I think you should go.
Yeah. If for people who are listening who don't know who I am or anything, like my husband's an attorney by day, banking regulatory stuff, which is a whole nother conversation about what's going on with that. But my husband is ranked third in the world. He is one of the best backgammon players in the world. And so here we are. That's why he's going to Monte Carlo.
That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah.
Although Monte Carlo is not that cool. Monte Carlo is kind of
It's
weird place.
yeah, he sent me videos. He was there last year.
Yeah. But
And
wait, Michael Huber, you raise a really good point. Michelle, you have to go. Fear is part of the method. Don't succumb.
yeah, I know. I know. I know.
Well, I'm going. I have to go to Israel.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have family stuff, yeah.
yeah. But which is going to be weird. I have not been there since October 7th, so
Mm,
we will see what that is like. With their
mm,
crazy government there.
yeah.
Because we'll see what it's like coming and going to their border and coming back here. Because I think,
Yeah.
yeah, with everything I've said, it might be problematic on both sides. But having said that, it's it's interesting because I have not. I'm trying to think. Have I flown internationally since Trump has been president? And the answer is
I
I
haven't.
haven't. I
I
haven't.
haven't.
Um,
It's been a couple
Eh,
years for me.
yeah, and I think I flew no, I think we went last year when Biden was still there.
Mhm.
Went to France and
Funny enough, I was standing on Omaha Beach when I was getting the alerts about October 7th. I was
oh,
right there. And so
oh,
I still had like 3 or 4 days left of my trip. And coming back, flying out of Charles de Gaulle back to JFK, the security was insane. I got
oh,
asked for
so
my passport like 5 times at
I'm
different
sure.
checkpoints because I mean everybody was on high alert after that was crazy.
Yeah. But you know, never when you get off the plane, what they usually say to you when you go through, I don't know if people know this, at least at JFK, they
Mhm.
do is they say, welcome, welcome home,
Mhm.
welcome home.
It's nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to say that this time.
Yeah. And then they
So
ask you how much money you've spent.
yeah. Well, how much? Yeah, exactly. How much
Yeah.
money you have with you? All right. We've been at this for almost an hour and a half,
Oh,
and
we have? Jesus. Well,
yeah,
Julie, I could talk to you forever.
you
So,
guys. Anybody who does not know this, Michelle and Tara and I and JoJo from Jers
mhm.
do a show every Saturday at 10 a.m., including tomorrow,
Mhm.
called Coffee and Conversation.
Mhm.
We don't do it on Substack, although we're going to move it to Substack pretty
Yeah.
soon. But right now, we're doing it on YouTube. So you can follow us at different,
Yeah, we kind
all
of
our
blast it
handles.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blasted everywhere. You could follow it on the Seneca Project's YouTube page. You could
Mhm.
follow it on my Salty Politics YouTube page. You
Or
could
you can
follow
go
it
to
on
the Mayday Network at
Mayday
the Mayday
Network.
Network. It's
Yeah,
there too.
to that, to JoJo's,
Twitter, all her stuff too.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Twitter. So you could see it everywhere. It's very relaxed. We actually
Mhm.
just drink coffee and talk
Yep.
about stuff that happened in the week.
Yep.
And we just interact with the audience in a
Yeah,
way
it's
that
very like a lot of engagement. We like
yeah, in
to
the way that we're
leave all
doing
our
here,
things
but
in.
even more so.
Yeah.
So if you are around at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, please join us. If you are
Please.
around Wednesdays at noon, and we don't do it on Substack, but as I said, we're going to move it to Substack.
Mhm.
Please join us at noon Eastern every Wednesday for Over It. We have
Mhm.
great guests. We had Congressman Jim Himes on Wednesday, who's the
Mhm.
ranking member of the Select Intelligence Committee in the
Mhm.
House. So he had
Mhm.
some interesting things to say about Signalgate and other
Yes,
stuff.
which I want to talk to you about offline, but yes, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so lots of good stuff. And to everybody else who joined us today to talk about Bruce and the boss, my
Yeah.
favorite topic, especially to my Jersey folks. I know there's some of you here. You guys, they're not just coming after us, they're coming after the jurors. You can
Yep. They are. They are. And listen,
they're coming after the jurors, and you know how I feel about the jurors. I don't live there anymore, but once a Jersey girl, always a Jersey
I
girl.
know. I
And
know.
um the other thing as to why Bruce is better than JBJ. Bruce still lives in New Jersey and always will, and JBJ, much like Julie Reginski, has
I
now
mean,
become a New
Bon
York
Jovi
resident.
is not even his name.
Well, it is Bon
It's
Jovi, but it's spelled
John,
different.
well, it's John Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi, yeah.
Right.
Plus, you guys, seriously, I spent a lot of time with John Bon Jovi privately, and let me tell you something. We love Bruce Springsteen. Tara's wrong. Okay.
And also, if you
Yes,
want
and
a deep
politics and
cut, if you want a
politics.
deep cut, like I'm telling you, Trapped, which is on the USA for Africa album, is so good. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Thanks.
politics and aphrodisiac. You said I have my show with Olga too. Yes, I'm not mentioning it because Michelle's not part of that, but I do have a show at noon at 11 every Thursday called Pax Americana with Olga Lautman. We talk much more foreign policy stuff there, which is really kind of my big love in the
Hmm.
world. Michelle has a show called The Stakes with Tara at 7:30 every Thursday. You guys would probably overdose from how much you would get of us if you actually watched all of it. So come join us tomorrow, 10 a.m., and we will
Yeah.
talk much more about this. And we really
Yep.
appreciate it and appreciate everybody tuning in at short notice, almost
Yeah.
400 of you within a few minutes' notice. I'm going to send this whole thing out also on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts, but
Oh,
also, yeah, but also on my Salty Politics Substack. So if you missed
yep.
the beginning part of this, where we really talk
Oops.
Bruce, come listen to it and join us next time. And we really
Yes.
appreciate it. And most importantly, have a wonderful weekend. Oh,
I got
yes.
this picture sitting here. This is from the Webbies.
This is from the Webbies. We'll
Yeah,
talk more
where
about that
got
tomorrow. But
Julie. Yeah, we'll share some pictures and some
yeah.
fun stories from the night. So it'll be fun.
And we met a really cool celebrity at the Webbies, which we'll talk about tomorrow at 10, who was
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
especially if you're a White Lotus fan. So we'll tell you some stories about the Webbies too.
Yeah.
Some good stuff from
Yep.
Snoop Dogg to Ice T to some kid
Hmm.
called the Rizzler, who my son is obsessed with. If you have little kids, you also might know about the Rizzler. He was there. Uh, so thank you all very much, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.